Hello, and welcome to another episode of Chit Chat and All That with me, Amanda Prowse.
And me, Penny Dommett. Thank you so much for joining us in this post-Christmas Chit Chat episode.
Can you bear to look at another Quality Street?
No. Or mince pie. I get a bit mince pied out, don't you?
I get cheesed out.
Oh, we don't really do cheese.
See, I don't really do cheese the rest of the year, but I almost feel it's, I'm under obligation to buy a cheese board.
I know where to send ours then.
Send your cheese this way.
I buy it because I feel we should, but then it sits in the fridge and we never eat it.
Yeah, we have a bit of brie maybe after we've had Christmas dinner, as though you've even got any more space. But yeah, no, have you overeaten, Pen?
I have. You're supposed to eat cheese, aren't you, with Christmas cake?
Apparently they do.
Yeah, I don't really get that.
I don't really like Christmas cake, got to be honest. I'm not a fruit cake lover.
Have you ever had my Christmas cake? No. It's I don't. Yeah. We'll have
a bit
because I always insist we don't cut it until Christmas Day.
Oh, that's nice.
So, and this year Monty requested a penguin on the top of his Christmas cake.
Wise.
So it has to look amazing for Christmas Day, and then we're allowed to cut it Christmas afternoon.
Oh, that's really nice.
Which we did.
Yeah.
So we tend to have it for a while, but I'm not a great fan. I don't do Christmas pudding.
No, I don't.
Only like a little bit of mincemeat in my mince pies because I'm all there for the pastry.
I take it out. Penny,
I'm never
I
pastry.
Take the middle out and just eat the pastry.
And I cheat with mine because I buy...
You buy them?
No, I buy mincemeat.
Yeah.
But,
you can't eat mincemeat.
Nice. Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Oh, you can. It's lovely. If you've never had a homemade mincemeat.
No, how do you
Oh, my gosh. Well, I sort of go half and half because I buy a jar of mincemeat. And then to that jar of mincemeat, I add stewed apples.
Oh,
some soaked cranberries in orange juice.
ooh,
Orange rind.
Penny.
And what's the other thing I add? I add something else. Oh, more chopped up glacé cherries. And mix it all together and it looks and tastes much more like homemade mincemeat.
Do you know, that's actually, I get that. I could eat that.
Because I find ordinary mincemeat is a bit sweet.
It's a bit grainy.
Yeah.
And a bit bitty.
Yeah.
I'm not keen on those little flies that are in it. Those little hard. What are
They're
they?
called raisins.
Yeah, them. I don't like
Currants.
them. Can't be doing that.
So I do that, and everybody goes, "Oh my gosh, you've made your own homemade mincemeat!" And
that's
I go,
very clever.
slightly.
Well, they did. They did used to say that.
They know
now.
now.
They know.
They know now.
But that's
and
really
also
good.
when you do the pastry,
I just buy it.
what pastry?
Yeah, obviously.
It's really easy to make.
It's easy to buy.
Because it is. But if you, I say, but again, if you actually make your own pastry, what I do instead of just adding water.
I'm nodding as though I might do this, but I know I actually won't ever.
Well, have you got a processor?
What's that? A word processor?
No, a food processor.
Oh, what?
No. Like a mixery thing.
I've got a hand mixer.
Yeah, but not a one where you shove everything in and switch it on.
No, Penny. Because this is not MasterChef.
Well, yeah, but you'd use it for so many things.
Like what?
Well, I obviously need to...
You bet me.
Yeah. No, soup. You like soup?
I do.
Well, you could just go bzz, blitz.
Oh,
soup.
So when you told me to make soup last year, which I did, I got all my soup and my water and my stock and everything. Yeah. And then I got my hand dibber.
Yeah, you can do your hand dibber.
And I did that.
Yeah. Actually, that's quite good. Yeah. I mean, hand... What do you call them?
Hand buzzers.
Yeah.
Dibber things. I know. One of them.
One of those.
Yeah.
But to make pastry...
soup wand.
To make pastry is really easy. You put 8 ounces of butter, 16 ounces of plain flour into the processor. Bzz, done.
Are you giving me instructions on how to make pastry in a processor I don't own? Because it sounds like you are.
But what I was going to say was, this is what makes my mince pie slightly different.
I feel like you're only bigging up these mince pies, Pen. I've got to say, we've been talking about 4 minutes now.
Sorry. And then I put an egg in to mix it, and cold water.
No.
Makes it really rich. Ooh. But then as well, I add icing sugar because it makes it sweet.
You are a maverick.
Yay!
A crazy maverick. That's what you are.
See, but you can see why I don't bother doing it for the rest of the year.
I can see why I just buy
Christmas.
them, because literally that is 5 minutes while I'm not getting back. Yeah, I just think, honestly, it's like all these things. Like when you see these programmes, you see people making puff pastry.
Oh, puff pastry. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Don't buy it.
I buy puff pastry.
Well, shame on you.
Yeah. I've never, ever made puff pastry because life is too short.
It is. I feel like that about everything.
Well,
basically.
yeah. But, I mean, I could say, why would you bother writing a new book when there's hundreds of thousands of books that haven't been read?
Well, it's a bit different, no? I mean, it's slightly different, although, yeah.
I'm trying to make a comparison.
I hear
Why
you.
would you bother putting more bulbs in when there's already loads in the garden?
Oh, yeah. In fact, talking about our last podcast, which I think came out just before Christmas, you said very excitingly, oh, I've got a viewing recommendation. And people were apparently, one person who contacted us, probably not everyone,
Hanging
on tenterhooks going, oh, can't wait to hear what this amazing viewing recommendation is. And then we went off on a tangent, as if we would, Penny.
Yeah. So we went off and I never said.
No. So would you like to now share with listener what that was?
Honestly, it is the best. You know how sometimes these series come along and you go, wow, that was so good.
Was it as good as your mince pies?
Yes.
Wow.
It was.
Okay.
And it's called Black Doves.
Oh.
Very good.
Now I've seen a trailer.
I hope Simeon's not listening because I think perhaps men might not find... I don't know. Oh, Robert quite enjoyed it.
You know, you're having a conversation with yourself, Penny. This is what you do. This is what... So I should just say that I've noticed over the years, there's times at which you want a response and times at which you're just figuring it out in your head. And that was one of those where you literally, you say to yourself, I wonder if so, or is he? I don't know. Let me think. And you're looking left to right as though there are two people in there having a chat. And I know just to sit here and let it go.
No, honestly, I'm
Tell
really
me you
sorry.
don't.
I am turning into that weird woman.
Turning
in.
Years ago. You turned.
Yeah, I liked it. Black Doves.
What's it about?
Good.
Without spoilers, please.
I can't... What's it about? It's anybody that's watched Slow Horses. It's on a
Simeon loves
similar
Slow
vein.
Horses, right.
Similar vein.
Is it a bit thrillery, spy?
Thrillery, spy,
Yeah.
and for me, the biggest draw, Ben Whishaw.
Oh,
I
Paddington.
love him.
He's great.
He is such a good actor. Keira Knightley,
Love her.
great cast
Is
list.
she beautiful?
She is very beautiful.
yeah.
But you know, she actually looks older and
Well,
better and more beautiful now.
Yeah.
I think Sarah Lancashire.
Oh, I love her.
Oh, she's so amazing.
she
she is
is.
such
She
an
can do
amazing.
anything.
Yes, anything.
Apart from make mince pies like you.
Oh,
So I've heard.
goes without saying. She buys them. I'm sure.
Apparently.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my recommendation. We completely
Is it
binged.
film?
No, it's episodes on.
Netflix.
Oh, is it Netflix?
I don't know. I'm prompting you.
Do you know what? I don't know.
Probably.
Is it on Netflix?
Amazon.
Must be.
Don't know.
Must be. It's not Amazon.
People can find it.
Yeah. Anyway, just put in Black Doves. It's on there.
I love it
and
when it's
you'll
episodes.
binge it. I like episodes because with films I just fall asleep.
Well, also, you know, you can decide if you're feeling up for it. Laugh, madam. You can do 2. And if not, you can let one next night. Put one in the bank.
Definitely. I like episodes. I think it's my age.
Yeah, I think it's our age, Pen.
Because we can only take so many.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before we're just snoring and drooling on the sofa.
Yes.
With all that food hangover.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, did you get everything you wanted for Christmas?
Do you know, I'm always pleasantly surprised by what I get for Christmas because I always say, I don't want anything.
Yeah.
I don't need
You don't
anything.
mean that. Nobody who ever says I don't want anything means it.
No, I kind of, what I mean is, don't go to any trouble. You're holding your nose and mouth. Was that a sneeze, fart, burp?
No,
I'm not sure what's
that's
coming
okay.
up.
It's gone now.
What
You
was it?
frightened it away. It was a sneeze.
Ah.
I'll just rub my nose now.
Oh, there you go.
Thanks.
It might come back later.
Yeah.
I'm prepared. But yeah, I always mean don't go to any trouble. Because I can't bear the idea of people having to spend money.
No, I'd
on a
like people
bottle.
to go to trouble.
But no, I got some lovely things. I got some perfume.
Oh,
which
good.
was great
Finally.
because I
Thank
ran out.
goodness.
I ran out in October.
I know, you've been dropping hints left, right and centre.
Yeah, and I haven't had any. So that was nice.
Good.
And just some nice things from the kids. It was
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah.
And we planted some bulbs for you.
Yes, which is wonderful.
Yay. And they'll all be up soon. You can probably still plant some bulbs now if you haven't done it already.
Look, I feel you're worrying about our bulbs.
Well,
Pen.
I am worrying because people just go, oh, it's too late, it's too late. Never too late. Well, it is if you get to March. But as long as you do it within the next couple of weeks, you'll be fine.
Why is that? Why do we have to do it? in this
Because
window?
bulbs are like a little powerhouse of everything that's already prepared and ready to grow.
Like a bath bomb.
Yes, a little bit.
That's a rubbish
And
analogy.
consequently, if you plant them too late, then it's too warm. They haven't had time for vernalisation,
Oh, hello.
getting cold in the ground. And so once they get cold, they go, oh, time to flower. And then they start. So if you put them in too late, they go, oh, hasn't been cold, not going to bother.
Oh, I see.
See? like that. They might say it in a slightly different way.
I would think they probably would.
You know, pretty much that's what they say.
I don't know what a bold voice sounds like, but I bet it's not that.
Well, I think it depends what it is. If it was a hyacinth, it would be, oh, hello, I'm about to...
More of the bouquet variety.
Yes.
I love a hyacinth.
Whereas if it was a little snowdrop, it would be a little squeaky mouse.
Tiny little mouse voice.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the thought of that.
Yeah,
I love
like it.
snowdrops.
I know, be more snowdrop. That's what we
and
say.
more, what was his name? That man?
Norman.
Norman, well remembered, Penny.
Yeah, Norman. I remember Norman. Things like that make a big impression on me because I think older people are wonderful.
Oh, they are.
The life that they have led, everybody is different, whether it's they think they haven't done anything interesting, but when you get to chat to them, they have.
I think so. And
Yeah.
I worry that we don't always capture that wisdom.
And also I worry that there are lots and lots of people who have been widowed or have finished work and then they don't see people enough.
Might
And they
have to.
don't.
Honestly, I was having quite a nice time.
Yeah.
And now I'm back to feeling a bit low again.
Oh.
But you're right, loneliness. I know we've spoken about it before. It isn't absolute. It's a terrible affliction, loneliness. And I know I've told you I've spent periods of loneliness in my life and I hate it so much.
Well, and you just think by the time you get to a certain age, don't you think you should be owed company?
Yeah,
and
I think you're owed a lot.
kindness.
I
and
think older people are owed
Yeah.
a lot more than they get.
Yeah.
And I think they often get a really rough
Because
deal.
that's an interesting one. I was only thinking the other day, I'm having some things done, a photograph and a picture made of photographs of my grandfather during the war and medals and that sort of thing. And I'm a great believer that we should obviously never forget the things that our grandparents did, great-grandparents, during the war. And we are going to reach a point where there are not people in our family that we can talk to about it.
Yeah, of course.
And where were we going with this in the beginning? Oh, people that are interesting. And I just think to myself, there are so many people with so many stories out there. We don't really...
I think it's part of the reason I love my job, that I get to tell stories.
Yeah.
And people read those stories. And one book I wrote a while ago called Ordinary Life is about an older woman, Molly, who I think is 93 at the beginning. And it sort of goes backwards through her life and we learn that her life was anything but ordinary. But that's everybody. We all think our lives are ordinary. And now our lives are all extraordinary because we're all unique in the things we do and the achievements. And very often the most extraordinary people are those who have to overcome things that, I say it time and again, but if people suffer from depression, I think it is such a scourge in our society, but managing to get up every day and face the world and put yourself out there when the last thing you feel like doing is actually interacting, you just want to slide under a duvet and hide, it takes more strength than most of us will ever possess.
But then I go back to the war. And I say the war like there's never been another war. Yeah. But the world wars and the things that people had to do, not only going to war, but the women that were left behind, the children that were shipped off to here, there and everywhere. And they had to get up in the morning and they had to figure out how to put food on the table and all of those sorts of things. Those lives were, now looking back, how interesting to talk to someone about how they managed.
And I think, I don't know, I was getting the impression you might say, but they weren't depressed. And I think the reason...
I'm sure there were.
Well, I was going to say, that a lot of people came back with terrible mental illnesses. But more importantly, we had a community. And community is a thing that gets you through those bad times and those terrible things. If you're all in it together, that sense of belonging and being looked after. And actually it was quite a leveller, wasn't it?
Well, I think they had time as well. We didn't have the devices, the TVs, the radios. So people did talk, perhaps, more than they do now. That's a real wide brushstroke.
No, I think
But I think they did talk because that's all they had.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel it's a shame because there are a lot of... are there many people left now that were actually fought in the war? Probably not that many.
I remember talking to my nan. So my granddad had the adventure of his life. He went off to, fight in Europe and It was the first time he'd left the East End. And he had an amazing adventure, really. He had, I mean, it was terrible, and he saw some terrible things, and I think it changed him. But he always said it was this great life adventure. And I think even though obviously he would rather not have been involved in war, he wouldn't have changed what he did and how he did it, because I think it made him the person he was. But my nan, she was at home in the East End of London with her 5 siblings, and her mum and dad, obviously, who were older, and her in-laws and her sister-in-laws and all these other people. And they were like this band. They were just together all the time and keeping an eye on each other and, you know, sleeping close to each other to make sure everyone was safe. And they were right in the middle of the Blitz. I mean, houses got destroyed, people were injured. But it really did something to them. It was an indomitable spirit that I think gave them a unique insight into the world at that time, when actually their lives had been very mundane and their horizons had been very small. And suddenly they weren't. My nan went to work up west in what is now the Barbican. She worked in a munitions factory.
Wow.
Well, by a munitions factory, there were lots of small sort of workshops. It was that, really. I think they were an umbrella factory before that, and they ended up making munitions. My nan did that. She'd left school at 14. She didn't have a formal education. She'd never really worked. And suddenly she was working for the war effort, doing something very valuable. She felt amazing.
Well, my grandfather was he was training to be a doctor. He was actually at medical school, college, university, whatever they called them then. And he lied about his age to be able to go to war. And it was interesting because I contacted the Berwick-upon-Tweed, not council, but where you find out these things, register of whatever it was. And she said, oh yes, we've got the signed paperwork here on record. And he lied about his age. And that's how he was allowed to go.
A lot of these men flying.
And he got the freedom of the city of Berwick-upon-Tweed, which of course in those days was in Scotland and now is in England, apparently. Fascinating. You know, can you imagine as a mother, your son going, oh, I'm going off to war. Well, you're not old enough. Well, I'm going anyway.
But every family. I mean, every mother, every father. It's just, and it really hits home, doesn't it, when you see those war memorials? You see the same surnames.
Yeah.
And there's very few villages. What do they call them? There's a name, isn't there, for a village where no one was killed? They call them something.
Oh, do they?
Yes, it's got a particular name.
There can't be many.
No, there aren't, but there's a few, and they're called the something villages. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll look it up. And they're basically just golden, and all the boys came home. But it was incredibly rare.
Can you imagine Christmas and then? I mean, that must have been bizarre, mustn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder, there's the age-old thing that you see in films and stuff about there being sudden silence. I mean, I wonder if there really was. Do you think there was, or was that just
I don't know.
I don't know whether it's a true story or whether it's something I've just watched on a programme.
No, I think there was, and I think it meant a lot to everybody on the front, from what I know and what I've read. Just to have those little moments of normality. And I think one thing my granddad actually told me, he was involved in something, I won't go into too many details, but he had to sit with the body of a German pilot overnight.
Oh my goodness.
On his own.
Goodness.
And the young German chap had died, and he was still in his plane, and my granddad had to sit with the plane while other things happened. And he says he'd always felt that they were the goodies and then there were baddies, and that we were fighting each other because we were the goodies and they were the baddies, and we were right and they were wrong. And, it's very black and white, very simplistic and very easy to understand why you had to go and do what you needed to do. But he said that particular night he sat in a field looking into the face of a young man who was the same age as him. And he said, I just kept thinking, he's got a mum and dad like mine. He's got a sister like mine. And it was the first time, I mean, my granddad would have been 19, I think, a bit younger maybe. He said it was the first time I thought, he's just like me. And we could easily just swap over. It changed everything for him.
It must have been really difficult once you stopped thinking about it as an army and you thought about individuals.
The psychology of warfare, the psychology and the strategy of warfare is absolutely fascinating. It's something I talk to Simeon about quite a lot. Because for me, it's unthinkable. Thank God, it is unthinkable. But when you have no choice, I can't imagine what it must have been like.
Yeah. Anyway, happy Christmas, everyone.
Yes.
We've had such a lovely Christmas. And now we're facing a new year.
It's a weird time.
Year. I hate if I told you.
I thought you did, but I find it a weird time between Christmas and New Year.
It's like a bit of a Bermuda Triangle.
I don't know what I'm expecting, but I feel like I'm expecting something to happen, and then it's a bit in limbo. And I keep thinking, well, I won't do that now because it's this sort of nothing no man's land time. Quick, another reference there to no man's land. But it all feels a bit weird, a bit like, I don't know.
I quite often book things in for that week because, well, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
So let's book something in.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we have a supper planned, which is nice. I'm excited about that. But yeah, do you do New Year's resolutions, Pam?
No. We quite often try and do a January of being good with regards to food and drink.
Yeah.
But then quite often we go, oh, well, we've got that thing happening on the 3rd of January.
Also, you've got all your leftovers.
Yeah,
it's
so let's
really
not do
hard.
it. Let's do February because it's a shorter month.
Yeah, that's good. Plus, I have 6 family birthdays in January.
Oh, do you?
Emily,
We've only
Noah,
got one.
My dad, Josh. Oh, it's honestly, all the dogs. It's incredible. Loads of them in January.
Don't the dogs.
Same day as Josh.
Don't tell me you do a party for the dogs.
Would it be ridiculous?
Do you buy them presents?
How else would they celebrate, Penny? They're not going to organise their own party, are they? They're dogs. You've hit the nail on the head. So Josh and the dogs share a birthday.
Oh my
And Josh's stepmom, actually, Emma. They all share a birthday, all 4 of them. So I don't think they do anything together this year, but maybe. I don't know.
No, January is a funny time, you see. I can't wait to get January out the way. I want it to go quickly.
Do you know what, though, Pen? We cannot wish our lives away.
No, you're totally right. Totally right.
I spent years thinking, oh, well, it'll be okay it'll be okay when, I'll be happy if. And about 15 years ago, I thought, I've got to stop doing it because I'm actually just constantly thinking it will all be okay in the future, but I have to live today. And it changed things for me. It sort of changed my mindset a bit. And I sort of harness that energy of now. And I'm determined to be more in the moment and more present and to enjoy as much as I can. So even if it is a hot bath, a soft blanket, a good cup of coffee, I try and succeed a lot of the time, not all of the time, to be a lot more thankful for now rather than thinking, oh, I can't wait until, because it made me anxious.
I totally agree with whatever you're saying. I think the trouble is both of us have jobs where we have to structure future events quite a lot in our sort of work lives. And so whether I'm always talking about you have to plant this now because otherwise you won't get it in the spring, and you have to do this because otherwise you won't get summer flowers. So we're always thinking about the next season, and you're always planning the next thing you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's difficult to be concentrating on the now.
Yeah, it is.
The good thing about gardens, though, is there's always something now that you can be enjoying.
Yeah.
I've got my first snowdrops coming up.
Oh, Penny!
Yes,
That's
and it's
lovely.
not even New Year yet.
That's wonderful.
It is wonderful. And you look at them and you go, oh my gosh, they're already thinking.
Hopeful.
Yes, hopeful.
Yeah, that's
very
really
hopeful. And that's lovely. At this time of year, it always seems a bit grey, and sometimes people are feeling a bit down because Christmas is over and they've got
Also,
to go
when
back
you
to
take
work.
down those lights, including the garish ones that you hate, the house looks so big.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I mean, if we're lucky, I wait till Boxing Day evening. I cannot wait to get them down.
That's so funny.
I just want to get back to boring. I know lots of people like the Christmassy stuff up, but because I use a lot of greenery, it's a good excuse because by then it's wilting a bit by then. It's looking a little bit worse for wear.
I feel like, though, 2024, I feel like it lasted about 4 weeks.
Isn't that a sign of getting old?
Possibly. We're in that whirlpool of life where it gets faster as we spin near the middle.
25 sounds funny, doesn't it?
I think 25 is going to be a really good year.
Have you got great hopes?
I feel more optimistic. I feel like my grief has subsided substantially in 2024. I think losing my brother, as you know, was an absolute shocker. 2024, I think I've handled my grief a lot better. And therefore I'm hoping that 25 I can feel even almost positive about the whole experience.
Well, I think you've got to look in that, you've got to think in that way. Otherwise, you won't find it. I think I'm a great believer that if you search for something, or even if you're open to that something, you will find it.
Yeah, I think that's true.
I really believe that.
I think, Pen, as well, the power of that positive thought, and it's so easy to say and so hard to do when you don't feel it. But I think that real, harnessing more positivity and thinking, I'm going to be great, this is going to be good, and I'm trying to put a lot of this negativity behind me because it's draining, isn't it?
Don't you think surrounding yourself with people who give you that makes a difference as well?
I'm much pickier, Penny, as I get older. You?
Yeah, very much so. And I'm very intolerant of people
Stop it
now.
We know.
I know. But I think it's a skill, finding people who are that have that joyness. There's no such thing as joyness.
Yeah.
Joy. Have that positive ring around them, like the Ready Brek advert. And you can definitely put your finger and get some of that out.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Don't bother with people that bring you down. There is
Energy
no
hoovers.
point.
Oh,
Suckers.
energy
The suckers of life.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it.
No,
just
it's
not
not.
worth it. And who cares if they think you're rude or off? Just be off. Because you don't need it in your life. You really do not.
But it takes courage, actually, to weed people from your life. It
does.
takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of confidence that you don't always feel you've
I
got.
felt COVID was very useful for that.
Yes, it
It's
was.
about the only thing it was useful for. But it was useful because you could use that as an excuse. And then once they've sort of got out of the habit of thinking that they're part of your life,
Yeah.
you don't have to put up with them anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
It's great.
It is true.
The only trouble is you end up just looking at across the table to you and not leaving the postcode.
It's true. But I kind of feel, we've said it before, haven't we? That was you blowing a raspberry.
It was, yeah.
Two, to prove the point.
Yeah, sorry.
So if anyone says, who was that blowing a raspberry?
It was me. It wasn't the
Penny
dogs.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm pickier, but I kind of feel the people I have in my life now, I'm closer to, rather than you have quite a large circle when you're younger, don't you? Or some people do.
I think you're right. It's when you're younger, you feel the need to have quantity rather than quality.
I think it's how you sort of validate yourself. You've got loads of friends. It feels like, I must be doing something right, and I'm great because I've got 50 people.
But then it's exhausting.
It is, yeah.
It's exhausting having to see all those people.
I don't know how people do it.
No, I don't. I mean, it's bad enough having to get here every so often.
It is bad enough,
Yeah.
but we manage it.
We're going to have a good time this year, I reckon.
I think we are. We've got lots of plans, haven't we?
Seriously, it's so lovely. We keep getting messages from people. People are really engaged. They're commenting on different. What's not nice for me, I think's nice, is people are commenting and sending messages about all sorts of different episodes.
Yes.
So it means
Because they're listening to them out of order, which
yes,
is wonderful.
and they're listening and finding us, and then picking and choosing which ones they listen to, because it's wonderful. There's a little sort of summary on each episode that says things like, I don't know, pole dancing, planting.
I knew you'd go straight there.
Yes, and I don't know, churches.
Pole dancing and churches very often go hand in hand, I found.
And it's quite nice because you can it's a bit like pick and mix.
Yes.
You can just pick which one you like.
From Woolworths, showing our age.
Yeah, and it's lovely because people are commenting on things from like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And actually, we did get, I know that we mentioned a couple of episodes ago that if you were lonely over Christmas, listen to the episodes, let us be that friend in your ear. Pull up a chair at our table. And we did get a message from one lady, and I hope you're listening, and you know who you are, saying that she had done just that. She was on her own on Christmas Day, but she ate her lunch and then sat in the afternoon and listened to 4 episodes. And so that's lovely.
Can you imagine us for an entire afternoon? It would drive you insane.
It might drive you insane. But I'm thankful.
I hope she had a laugh.
She did.
I hope she did.
She said that. She did like sitting with friends, which is the whole point, right?
Yes, it definitely is. And we'd love to hear from you. So at the Chit Chatters.
At the Chit Chatters.
Send us a message. And if you want to, somebody actually asked me the other day how they found the podcast. How do I find it, she says. Because some people have never listened to one.
No.
Not many, hopefully. And I explained there should be an app on your phone that says podcasts. If not, go to the App Store, you can download that, or you can find them on Spotify. Just go onto Spotify, put in the search thing, chit chat and all that.
Are you telling people who are listening to the podcast how to find our podcast?
Oh, that's true, actually.
Just check. I'm just checking.
I hadn't thought of that.
If that's what you're doing.
But some people might not know, and They might think I fell upon this by accident.
Stop it. That is probably one of my favourite things that you've ever done. Telling people listening to the podcast how to find our podcast. This is right up there with the time that my son, Ben, we had to take the dog to the vet. I've told you this, haven't I? I must have done. So Bo needs to go to the vet. I'm sorry, I'm wetting myself inside. So we had to go to the vet. So Ben, I said, can you come with me? Because I don't want to have the dog loose in the car. He said, no, that's fine. So he's holding the dog on the front seat. I drive. We get to the vet's. He goes up to the front door. He brings the dog back to the car and he says, do I have to go in with her or do I just put her in the door? So I said, yeah, just put her in the door, Ben. She'll tell the vets what's wrong with her and then pay with her own little credit card. Oh, yeah, good point. He was literally about to... Can you imagine the vet sitting there? Bo just walks in. Morning, Bo. Hello, I've got a bit of a sore throat. Itchy leg. Can I have me drugs? And then pays with a little credit card in a little bag over his shoulder.
I thought I was being kind, explaining to people.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, but you know, there might be somebody who came upon it by accident.
Stop it. You're making it worse.
And then, luckily, I explained how in future they could find us.
Penny Dommett. I swear to
dear.
God. I think I still was looking forward to next year. Maybe that is very, very funny.
Good. Be good.
You know I'm going to rip you about that, don't you?
I know.
How big's your garden?
Oh,
2.5
only an
acres?
acre.
Shrinking.
It's shrinking.
I'm getting merch with 2.5 acres written on it.
Oh, what else could we get? We could get...
No, that 2.5 acres. That's all we need.
Princess Anne.
I think that's taken.
This is Princess Anne's
I think you
mug.
can already buy Princess Anne merch. I don't think we want to be selling that. Yeah. But no, 2.5 acres on a hat, a scarf, a badge, and only people that listen will know what it is. We're like a gang, aren't we? That is so funny.
Oh dear.
On that note, I was going to say, you know where to go to listen to all previous episodes. And if you didn't, you do now because Penny's just told you several times on the podcast. But oh my goodness, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening.
We have to say Happy New Year.
Not yet, we don't.
Why?
Well, we can do it next time.
People might listen.
We'll do that next time, can't we?
Shall I explain what you do at New Year?
Yes. What is New Year? It's a new concept to me. Oh my God, honest to God. Penny, that is very, very funny. I love you. Thank you so much for listening. It's just thrown me, honestly. And until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.